Gwendolyn Villebrun and Melissa J., receiving support, help, and teachings from our kinship.
Gwendolyn, I'm so grateful that we're together and that we're going to talk and share stories about our experiences in kinship and celebrating our kin who have walked with us and continue to walk with us. And I wondered, do you want to share a story first?
Sure, I'd love to. And I do really appreciate that we have this opportunity to really position ourselves as counseling psychologists within our kinship and what we've learned from them and how important our family and our life experiences are in terms of formulating who we are. Because I think sometimes we get so focused on our education and our training, and that we sometimes can lose sight of who we are, where we come from, the people that we come from, and how pivotal they are in terms of our own development, our own professional development. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share a bit about my kin, and in particular, I'm going to share about my Auntie Lucy. And there are so many kin that I could share and who have in their own ways impacted me and been such a big part of why I am who I am and what I've learned about living well and supporting people to live well. So I'll just show a picture of my Auntie Lucy. This is from my wedding actually,
She's so
and
beautiful.
taken by a professional photo. I remember she was really kind of embarrassed about the photographer being around and taking her picture. She's yeah. But anyways, she was just so amazing, and we she's passed on. She's transitioned now several years ago, but such an important matriarch in our family, where she was just full of light. She didn't have any children of her own, um, and was a very important caregiver in our family. So she helped take care of her brothers and her sisters, and she also took care of her mother, so my grandmother. And her home was kind of our gathering place. So during summers and Christmases, we would go to her home, and it was always warm, always baked goods. There was always caribou stew, and just it was always filled with love and warmth, and her home was just so welcoming. And my Auntie Lucy was one of the few extroverts in our family. So most of us are quite quiet and introverted, but she was an extrovert, and she got her energy from being around people. So it was always so lovely to be around her energy. And when I went with her to town, people were always stopping and talking to her. She was very popular in her community of Hay River. And she also worked as a community health representative for the Ketlo Deche First Nation, which we're members of. And so I would go along with her as she did work. She did water sampling, and she worked in a clinic as well. And I recall just being with her and just loving how she was with community members. She was just so respectful, loving, compassionate, and really showed me, to how to practice humility, how to have that humility in work. So even though she held this professional government kind of healthcare position, she never forgot who she was. And when she was with our people, with the community people, she um, let that expert part go. She was never that, and it would just be so false if she ever, portrayed, anything like that. And so I really learned a lot about that, how she was able to balance her professionalism and also being an auntie and being a caregiver and prioritizing her family. So she was such an important person in terms of helping me to develop who I am. And I do my best to respect and honor her in the way that that I work with people. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about my Auntie Lucy.
Oh, thank you for sharing your Auntie Lucy. Wow, I can feel her. I really
Yes.
do. I really
Yeah, just full of light, full of energy, full of light, full of love
do.
and laughter. She had an amazing laughter and yeah, loud and just yeah, just wonderful. So energizing to be around her laughter.
I'm such a an attachment nerd, and what I feel so deeply as someone who's lost many people that I love who are kin, I always feel so grateful to know that even when folks cross over to the spirit world, we're still connected. And so I feel like I want to share a story or share just about my Uncle Rick. Um, my Uncle Rick was one of my favorite people. He was a leader, he was an advocate, and he was unapologetic around Indigenous rights. And so he was, my Uncle Rick passed in June 2020. And yeah, he just is one of the people who really came alongside me as a young adult to support me in like showing up as an Indigenous woman, showing up as an Indigenous person. And I had been disconnected from my paternal side of my family. And he showed up when I needed him. And I didn't know that I needed him, but he knew at the right timing. I needed him very much, and it was from there that we developed a really beautiful and lasting, loving relationship. Um, so my uncle Rick was my late father's brother, and he was a member of the Mistawasis First Nation. He went for his social work, his Indigenous social work degree late in life. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and he went on to complete his degree after that. He and my Auntie Rose, beautiful Auntie Rose, they lived in Green Lake. My Auntie Rose still lives there. And he served as the mayor. And he was just this unapologetic human who just loved fiercely, who would show up wholeheartedly. I love how your Auntie Lucy was this extrovert. Same with my Uncle Rick. And it's like he would always be sharing, like, oh, I met more of our relatives. And it's just like people I've never heard of. But yeah, just so available and in community and for community. And I feel like he's had a really huge impact on how I show up in the roles that I have, where I have a lot of privilege as someone who is a psychologist and a helper, and also what it means to be an Indigenous woman. I think there was a lot of my childhood where that part of me was kind of tucked away or maybe unintentionally shamed, and so I just kind of developed this ability to tuck it away when it felt maybe it would be shamed. And so as an adult I've just felt this like this ability to kind of take up space in ways that honor my kin and that honor my paternal side of my family. And so my Uncle Rick, I can often hear him saying things like "never about us without us." He and my Auntie Rose often would be invited into spaces, um, and to just really work alongside folks and what it really means to indigenize and what it means to decolonize, and that is never about us without us. And so I see my role in academia now as like continuing on that legacy from my Uncle Rick. I often say, like, I sometimes hear my Uncle Rick's giggle in my giggle, and I can feel that he's still moving through me, and so I still feel connected to him even though he's crossed into the spirit world. And so yeah, I'm very grateful for him. I know that he was such a loving support to so many, and that includes me. I just am so grateful for the ways that he, yeah, celebrated me, and I know I'm really good at celebrating others, and it was a joy to be celebrated by him as well.
Beautiful, lovely. I just hear the kind of that fearlessness and the path making. Okay, and it sounds like both of our kin that we're referring to, your Uncle Rick and for me, my Auntie Lucy, were real path creators, right? And because my auntie Lucy was the first in on my maternal side of the family to actually work in a profession like that. She was the first woman to drive in that side of the family. So, these pieces of having fearlessness and being such an important model and balancing, being fierce, but also being loving and kind with community members and not losing sight of why we're doing this important work. Hey, like, yeah, such beautiful representations of that. Thank you so much for sharing about your uncle.
Aw, thank you for sharing about your auntie. And I feel like that's what feels really present in our conversation right now and our stories is the love. And I think that if we really decolonize psychology, if we can show up with loving hearts, amazing things are possible.
Hi, hi, thank you.